Okay, hello everybody. We are the Let's Talk Racism founders, and we're going to be talking today about our mixed race week that we are focusing on this week, which we're very excited about. So we've got a lot of exciting things to do, but I'm going to speak to our lovely other founders, Ryesha and Alicia, all about it. So guys, why was it important to you that we spent a week discussing mixed race?
I think for me, it's a race that seems sometimes to sort of fall to the wayside, and there's a lot of people that are mixed race and aren't really sure where they stand or how they feel, or sort of where they can identify and feel sort of secure in that identity. So it's really important for me to sort of talk about it more.
Yeah, definitely. We've had it quite a lot, haven't we, just from doing the platform? So many people saying that this is a struggle with their identity. What about you, Alicia?
Yeah, absolutely the same. I think currently the conversation is all about race, which is what I'd like to see. I'm really happy that we're having that conversation, but more and more we are becoming a bit more mixed race in the world, different ethnicities completely, and the focus currently is Black Lives Matter, so it's been white, black narrative with the media, and you can be any mix in the world, like so many different mixes. And I think that as we've had discussions between ourselves and from other members on the platform, it is kind of like, where do you fit? And you can have your own identity issues. So I think it's nice, there's not that much representation, I don't think. Still there is, but it's not, you can sometimes feel like you're left out a bit. So it's nice to be able to give that representation to people who are mixed.
Definitely. Yeah. So what is the sort of purpose and the goal for this week? What are we sort of aiming towards?
Yeah, just hopefully, oh, go on, sorry.
That sort of representation, sort of share not just one particular sort of race, but the mixes, and share that and have that represented sort of everywhere, and sort of give mixed race people their voice as well.
Yeah.
And to be able to just share their experience with, again, the identity issues that people face. We're getting more messages coming through privately where they say, thank you so much for this, actually, because I've been struggling with my own issues and no one seems to talk about it. So it's nice just to be able to give that space for people who have those problems as well, their own issues as well.
Definitely. It's a nice way to sort of celebrate and embrace it, isn't it? Which is good.
Yeah.
So what are we doing then? Talk a little bit about what we're going to do through this week.
Alicia?
So we've got some we reached out a while ago to a couple of members on our platform who were mixed race, completely different backgrounds in different parts of the world, and it was really interesting actually to see the shared experiences that we had. So it was nice to, while we're different, we were very much the same. So we've written up about that, and we'll be sharing this throughout the week. We've got other video stories coming up, people who are mixed race and their experiences with racism. And yeah, I'll let Ryesha explain the rest.
So we'll be having sort of quotes. We'll be looking into the history of mixed race in the UK, sharing a lot of sort of facts around mixed race. And I'll be sharing my story about being mixed race myself as well. So, is there anything else that I've missed, Sarah?
Well, no. Beautiful to create like a storyboard as well. So like on the website, the idea is kind of that we'd have a range of, you just come onto the site and you just see pictures of different like interracial families, mixed race people, and they would have their own story to tell and what being part of an interracial family or what mixed race means to them. And they're completely different ethnicities. And actually we've had loads of people wanting to be a part of that, and it's so beautiful. So anyone who sees this video and still wants to get involved or wants to be a part of it, please just let us know on any of our platforms. Just email, DM, anything, just let us know, because there's always space for you. So yeah.
This is something we're really, really excited about. I can't wait to get everybody's like photos and see them all together. It's like one big community on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously this week was really important to both of you as well, because you both are mixed race. So tell us about your mixed race. Like, what races are you both? Were you born here in the UK? Talk to us a little bit about your background. Whoever wants to start.
Alicia?
No. I'm half white British, half Black Caribbean. I say Black Caribbean, My mum was actually born and raised in Britain as well, but her parents came over to the UK as part of the Windrush generation from Barbados. But I just like to say Black Caribbean because I feel like that way I'm embracing all of me. Yeah, that's my background, heritage, ethnicity-wise.
Lovely.
For me, same, half Caucasian, half Black Caribbean. My dad's side of the family came from the Grenadines, the islands of Grenada. I don't really know much about it. I'm not that close to my dad's side of the family, but I am super proud of both.
Amazing. So for you, Ryesha, it was your dad that was Black and your mum was white, and for you, Alicia, it's the other way around. Mum was Black, dad white. I mean, it's obviously usually considered that the norm is that it's a Black dad and a white mum. I don't know where that sort of stemmed from, but did you ever find anything about that, Alicia? Does anyone ever say anything?
No, I've noticed that is the norm. A lot of my mixed race friends seem to have that kind of, it is usually the dad that is Black. I'm not sure why, actually. I'd like to look into that a bit more. I don't know if it's something to do with the history of it all. But
I think there is something there in the history of that, yeah.
Yeah.
I know some people have experience, you know, as we've put up Tanisha's blog on the website. If you haven't read that, go check it out. But she was saying how she was told that she was the wrong way around in terms of the dad was white and her mum was Black. I've never experienced any comments like that, but yeah, I'm well aware that it's probably not the norm.
The norm. Yeah. What is normal with that? I don't know where people get these ideas from.
Yeah.
So how did you find growing up mixed race in your respective areas? Because obviously we're all from, well, me and Alicia are from the same area, but Ryesha, you're from somewhere different. How did you find it?
For me, it's really hard because the city I grew up in is a really, really multicultural city. But I was completely unaware of that growing up. I grew up in a very white area. I went to very white schools. It was a struggle for me because I grew up not really thinking that I was different. And then I got to a point sort of in my childhood where I started being treated different. But again, I didn't know what type of different I was because to me, I was just me. But to everybody else, people looked at me and saw something else. I was called racial slurs, not always sort of like the typical ones like the N-word and stuff like that. A lot of people I grew up around were racist towards Asians, so I got a lot of Asian racial slurs.
Oh, wow.
So it was hard for me because then I didn't know where I were or what I were. I really struggled with my identity like that because I'm not Asian, but people are calling me Asian, but I don't know. I'm just me. Like, that's how I thought as a child. You know, when you're like 6, 7, 8 years old and you're getting that, and I just didn't get it. And it caused a lot of confusion for me when I was really young. And I think that pretty much carried on throughout my childhood. It wasn't until I went to university that stereotypical. I went to university and found myself. It wasn't until then when I sort of left that area and went to, again, Leeds, incredibly multicultural but very open with it being such a huge sort of student city anyway.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got there that I sort of figured it out or started to sort of figure myself out. But so yeah, growing up mixed race with me because was weird. I had all white friends and I knew I was different, but I didn't really understand it at all.
Wow.
And nobody taught me. Nobody taught me as a kid. Nobody told me this is what you are, this is where you came from, etc., etc. I was just sort of left in confusion for most of my childhood, really.
I think a lot of people we've spoken to have talked about the importance of the fact that it is your family that has to highlight it to you and show you that importance. How was it for you, Alicia, growing up in your area?
Very similar. I'm sure I want to have that conversation with you actually, right, at one point, probably not now, but just about how you weren't made aware of your of how you are, because a lot of people do say that actually we shouldn't be making people aware that they're different. I was told I was different from quite a young age. My mum used to always sit me down and say, you know, you're Black, and I'd say, no, I'm not, I'm mixed, blah, blah, blah. My dad would even say, no, you're Black. My dad's white, and he would tell me I'm Black. And I never really realised that, because when all my friends were white, I lived in a very white area. I say predominantly white, but it probably was just only white. There's probably like only a handful of people who were darker skinned. And I didn't really understand that I was different. I didn't get it. And then the racism starts, and I've had, N-words, people shouting out of cars. I've had people call me monkey and chanting noises at me and saying they won't want me to go near them, serve them, that kind of thing. Couldn't play out with my friends, couldn't go to my friends' houses. That was when I was a child. I had comments about my hair. It was very strange. I got it. I didn't get it, but then I got it. And then it was like, okay, because for me, I've been feel to be made very other, like growing up, like I'm not white, when to me, I look around, my family's white, my friends are white. To me, genetically, I'm half white. So there's no way I'm not white. I'm as much white as I am black, yet nobody really sees that when they look at me, because I think the common thing is that we look at people and associate with their features. I'm obviously darker skinned. A lot of people say I look a lot like my mum. Me and my mum used to stand in the mirror, we didn't see it. If I look at pictures of me and my dad have a lot of similar features. I have his nose, but people won't see that me and my dad are the same just because I'm darker skinned than him. Whereas I think I have actually a lot more featurely, look a lot more like him. So it's very, strange. It was a similar experience. University was when I first actually started to hang out with my Caribbean family, started to hang out with more black friends, meet Asians for the first time, and you do start to think, oh, this is interesting. Where do I fit into all of this? Identity-wise, it's been hard growing up, I'm not gonna lie. Even now, with us all going on, it's brought it all up again. I don't know. People look at you and put on to you what you should be like. They tell you how you should be, who you should be, based on what your appearance is. I'm too white to be black, I'm too black to be white, and it's like, can I not just be me? I don't get it. So very similar experience to Ryesha, but I'm just interested that I've had the talk growing up about being different, whereas Ryesha hasn't. So I think that's quite interesting.
I think it's really interesting that you both say as well that it took going to university, which is obviously a much more diverse environment, for you to actually start recognizing and sort of embracing your heritage. Do you think that schools then need to do more? I mean, I'm not just saying schools here, I'm saying the government. Do we think the curriculum does need to do more to integrate, really?
Absolutely. I didn't have the opportunity to learn about the culture, sort of black culture, because my dad wasn't around. I only had white culture, and it made me feel, like I said, it made me struggle with my identity. If I'd have had that at school, if I'd have had a black teacher, my life would have been completely different. If I'd have had somebody to look up to that looked more like me, which I didn't have it at all, I think my life would have been very, very different. And I wouldn't have felt, I think I felt sort of unequal. I felt below everybody around me because nobody looked like me. All my friends had teachers and respectable people that looked like them, and I didn't. I was sort of on the outskirts looking in a little bit. So with schools, I do think that schools need to be more diverse. I think they need to work at being more diverse. I think they need to work at teaching that if they can. If they can sort of have black teachers or more diverse students, I definitely think they still need to teach it. I think it's more important that they teach it if they can't actually show it, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd be interested to know what the differences in teaching is in different schools in different areas, because where I am, it isn't very diverse. So would they necessarily think to teach it in as much depth as another school with more where it's more diverse? I don't know. Because it looks like from the government response that we've had from when we've contacted them about the education system and what they're teaching and why they're not teaching racism, they seem to state that schools have free reign on how they actually teach it, that they can teach it, but it's up to them how they teach it. So I'd be interested to see how they're teaching it in different areas, depending on the level of diversity. Everything that's come from Black history has come from my dad, it's come from the family home, it's come from really being around people who are different to me. It's come from them directly. It's not from the education system. I learned so much about religion, cultures, everything at university from people who were just different from me. That's the first time I learned anything about it. I know we have religious education, but is it the same? I don't know. It's just, I don't think I mean, not everyone gets that opportunity. Not everyone gets to go to different cities and university and meet different people. They just have the media, and who are they surrounded by? And if the media is with one narrative, then you're going to struggle.
I was going to say, yeah, arguably it's almost, well, maybe not more important, but as important that those places that are less diverse still have that education, because when people do go out into the big wide world, they haven't got a clue and they don't know how to react, and then they, you know, and that's where that other sort of comes from, essentially. So yeah, I just think
to really combat stereotypes, I think that is the problem with a lot of things, is prejudice and unconscious bias. There's a lot of things that are internalized and passed down through generations, and I think that's actually the problem with a lot of what's happening with systemic racism, is this underlying unconscious bias, because the stats will actually show that it's different from what people perceive. So it's kind of like, where's this all coming from? It's coming from, I would say, the higher powers from above, and it's passed down.
Definitely.
So I just think that, yeah, unconscious bias and stereotypes, we need to bust those myths, because they're not, until you meet people, you're never going to know.
I mean, a lot of the problems are going to be that, you know, I don't think many people think that this was only, 40 years ago. There was still very overt racism happening, and that is going to still trickle and stem into everyday life.
5 years ago! We weren't alive 40 years ago!
Yeah, still today! What is the, what would you say is sort of the worst thing that's been said to you, or that you've been asked in the past?
I always got this one, it sort of makes me laugh now, but it really, the sort of effect it had on me as a kid was terrible. People always ask me if I'd put my fingers in a plug socket because my hair always went up. And it was a joke everyone said all the time, but it really, really made me hate my hair. I destroyed my hair with chemical straighteners because of that for years and years and years. I'm only now, at 27 years old, getting used to loving my natural hair in its own right, and as I should have as a child. But the jokes around my hair, I had friends telling me that like my hair looked like spider webs if it was in plaits, or like spider legs. I had people like I said, the sort of, have you put your fingers in the plug socket, or just really horrible stuff. I think you mentioned it before, Alicia, with like Sideshow Bob being compared to him, and like the jokes around, like that's the worst. I think that's had the worst effect on me. It's the only thing about me that I've ever really, really, truly hated, and it's because of people's. It's just a joke. It's just banter. But at the end of the day, if you're making somebody hate themselves to a point, they actually hurt themselves trying to change that about them. Because I used to literally burn the hell out of my scalp trying to straighten it and stuff like that. It's a problem, and it's the worst thing for me. It was the worst thing for me growing up ever.
Do you think that stems as well from, you know, the representation of Black people in, you know, magazines, television? It is again made into the norm is having straight hair, blonde hair a lot of the time.
Yeah, like nobody on TV had hair like me and were considered beautiful.
No. How about you, Alicia?
Same. It's always been my hair. I mean, my skin color, obviously, because of the racism, I never wanted to go any darker. I'd be like, oh my god, keep me out of the sun. Now I'm just like, sod it. I love being any shade. I don't care. But back then, I hated it. My hair, yeah, massive thing for me. Comments, probably stereotypes in relation to, you know, like twerking and all that crap. Like, it's not like overly offensive, obviously, but it's just like, oh, I just hate it. I hate being reduced to a stereotype. It's like I'm not a person that you've not, I don't know. I think obviously representation for, you know, mixed people who are predominantly black and white, I think that has become more of a thing. So we're starting to see more people who are accepting. But yeah, when it comes to like hair, it's still not where it should be, because I shouldn't be getting excited about the little, you know, Afro hair section in Tesco. Like,
so just be normal.
I'm excited by it, but I shouldn't be. It's 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, you two are going to discuss quite a lot of this in your individual blogs as well, aren't you? So more people can read a lot more in depth into this. But one thing I did want to ask is, how do you feel about mixed race individuals being fetished? Because that is a huge thing. You know, people wanting mixed babies. How does that make you feel? What is your take on that?
I hate it. Sorry, Alicia, I'm going to be really quick. This whole, oh my God, I want mixed race babies. No, just no. You have no idea what you're doing. You're wanting a fashion accessory that you're going to have to take care of for the next 18 years. And not only are you going to have to take care of it as a parent, you have to be able to teach that child as well. If you're not intelligent enough to realize what you're doing, realize what type of person you're bringing into this world, and raise them as a mixed race person, not just willy-nilly, then you are creating a world of pain for a human being. Do not think, oh, I just want a kid with curly hair and pretty eyes. No. If that's why you're having a mixed race child, then you don't deserve to be a parent. I'm sorry, you just don't. That's it. That's all I have to say. Be with someone. If you want to be with a black person, be with them for who they are as a person, their personality, not because they've got pretty skin, or not because you like the way their lips look, and not because you want a baby that's going to have nice curly hair.
Yeah.
Be with someone properly.
I've read an article that has the same view as you, and it's that you need to have those conversations as well, because it is, you know, it's 18 years, as you say, plus some, that you need to be focusing on that, and that you can't just have the child and then think it's just this pretty little baby. You've got to focus on it.
You've got a commitment not just to another human being, but a commitment to learning about another culture. Yeah. You have a commitment to teach that child that other culture, because that is part of who they are as well.
It is important, I think, yeah. What about you, Alicia?
I completely agree. That right there is really annoying. I think it's horrible that people do that. Like, they're not the people who aren't really bothered about, you know, black human rights, and people who aren't bothered about, you know, the partner they're having a baby with. They just want a baby that is aesthetically pleasing because it's a fashion trend that the Kardashians have, you know, because they all have mixed babies. It's the kind of like, it's weird for me, because it's really like not that long ago that, and some countries still don't, you know, consider mixed to be anything like accepting. Like they think it's like horrible in some places. It's kind of, yeah, that irritates me, but it's also being reduced again, like I say, to a stereotype. And to be honest, when it comes to fetishes, I actually have a lot of guilt that comes with that. Because I've got lighter skin, I've had people say to me, I want to try black. Well, first of all, the ignorance in that in itself, I'm mixed race. Don't get me wrong, very proud to be part of the black community, but I'm not fully black. Don't say that to me, but then say you won't date a black girl. That is just ridiculous. It's ignorance in itself. And honestly, the guilt, I think, like with most mixed race people now, because it's becoming such a thing, and it irritates me because we're not a thing, we're people. It's just like, I don't think mixed race people struggle to really find people who are attracted to them physically. It's whether it's a sincere appreciation for a person that goes beyond the superficial. Yeah. And I don't like it when people say to me, well, you know, you're nice because you're light skinned, but I wouldn't date a dark skinned girl. Don't say that to me. Honestly, the guilt that comes with that, and it's engaging with colorism, and it shows honestly that the world that we are not where we should be, because how can you think of that? It infuriates me. It actually makes me so sad, because...
And we are going to hit on that sort of colorism as well this week. It's something that we're going to talk about throughout the week.
Definitely. I think my last question for both of you before we sort of end this and people can start reading your blogs this week. Just in the current climate, we have talked about this a little bit, there's a lot of people that are saying that they are really struggling to sort of identify themselves within the Black Lives Matter movement, because, you know, they do get people telling them you're not black enough to support this movement, but yet they aren't accepted as white. How does that make you feel, and what do you say to those people?
I think that's heartbreaking, because then you're just causing that sort of environment where there's a huge group of people that don't fit anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's not fair, and it's not nice. At the end of the day, when I walk down the street, people don't see a mixed race person, they see a black person. Mm-hmm. But I don't have control over that. It's not my fault that I am seeing that way. So please don't tell me that I'm too white to be black. Yeah. I think it's a horrible, horrible thing to do to another human being.
I agree.
Don't get me me wrong, I understand where it's coming from, but it's not nice. We need to be a collective group. I will always be an advocate for the Black community, speak up, because it's hard for me personally, because I think I've got two sides to me. So one side benefits from a system, the other one doesn't. So I don't necessarily need to speak up for the side that benefits from a system, because we're not going through anything that's detrimental because of the colour of our skin. Well, I say our skin, I'm obviously darker, but I'm obviously always going to be seen as someone who is Black. So I don't like the fact that, yeah, there are Black people, I get it, but yeah, I would say, yeah, just that.
Well, hopefully us focusing on mixed race, we can sort of highlight it and, you know, make people see that mixed race is identifying with both. You are white and you are Black, and we need people to embrace and, you know, celebrate that, rather than think that it doesn't fit into a category. It's not fair to do that, as you both
One
said.
thing I just want to quickly add, sorry, was just that I don't want my people who are white to look at me and think, well, you're mixed race, but you're only speaking up for being Black and Black human rights. For me, it's not picking a side. I don't ever want to feel like someone thinks I'm choosing to be one than the other. I am wholly both. It's the world that makes me think that I'm not. I'll always be proud to be both. I just want people to realize that, because I know people find it hard when people who are mixed suddenly, you know, find their other identity, because we do have to teach it ourselves. It's not something that just comes to us in school. It's something that, you know, you start to embrace, because you realize, actually, there's more to me than just one race and one culture. So you go and find it and you learn about it. But I just don't want people to think that I pick a side or I'm choosing to be one or the other. I am wholly me and accepting of all of me. It's just that, sadly, part of me is relating and sticking up for people who don't have the same rights as the other half of me. So that's all that is. And I just want to make that clear.
Of course. Amazing. Well, I mean, I'm really excited to read both of your blogs, and I'm sure hopefully after this everybody else is as well. So thank you both for talking about it. I think it is something that we do need to talk about more, and hopefully we'll get a few more people involved with our storyboard, which we're very excited about as well. Great. Right then, thank you, ladies, and we'll keep everyone updated with Mixed Race Week.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you guys soon. Bye.